Hey, I don't think we are serious as a country.
It's a challenge again, coming back to that idealism versus reality. And I think the real, possibly, solution to this is these principles have been put into place to achieve certain, but they can only be achieved through people. Because ultimately also, when you can have political parties, even let's say it's a few, people will still vote for those political parties. You still have universal suffrage, people voting for the party leader on top. So part of the solution may lie in civic education, part of what we're doing in trying to raise a civic consciousness. Because by people being involved, you can have several institutions, even under the Constitution, but the real check and balance is citizens. Yes, the people.
We the people.
We the people.
We the people.
That's ultimately the ultimate test. Yeah. Because through that contestation, why we even have the idea of pluralism is so that you have that check and balance. Yeah. Why Mwalimu Nyerere's brilliant genius that he was, why his idea of a single political party did not work was you encounter the problems of majoritarianism, where a few people get to dominate, or the majority dominates the few. So having that competition is part of what helps what is best for society percolate to the top. It's an idea in political philosophy, but it's not just theory, it's real life.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's all by saying we stand for this and this is what we believe in. Having this other entity or collective of people coming and challenging this, it may have then these two collectives of people gravitating to a middle and saying, actually, I agree with what you're saying about this, and it's improved the quality of my argument of this.
Yeah.
But when you don't have that involvement, that participation, you then revert back to the problem that was trying to be cured of elite consensus, where a few people at the top are coming to decide. No matter how many institutions you have, no matter how many principles you put into the Constitution, no matter how many laws you have in place, as long as you don't have that involvement, it's going to be the preserve of a few.
It's true. It's true. And I feel like that's true based on even what we've seen in the recent past with the protests. And it is only when it became public information and a lot of more people were becoming more and more aware of what exactly was in this bill, did we see a level of, let's say, a call for accountability, a call for no, we don't want this. We saw high levels of public participation that I don't think we had witnessed before. But I have a question, Chaka, because it's as you're speaking, you're saying this is idealism and then there's a reality. And we're moving into an election year. People have already even started. I went to Kirinyaga the other day and there are billboards. There are billboards. I don't want to say who, but she has put billboards, and I was just like, wow, we're already electioneering. So I'm wondering, we've said, or you've agreed with me that the institutions are not the problem, it's the people whose values have been so eroded that they now start to manipulate these institutions for their own good or whoever's good. Do you think we are so far gone that we cannot get the right people in? Like, how would you be able to change a society whose values have been so eroded? Because we have the framework. The drafters of the 2010 Constitution, I feel like, were sent by God, because it's such a beautiful document that it's been stress tested as much, but it still remains true. Like, it's a living document. I'm not saying that it does have its loopholes. There are places we could amend and add on to.
BBI.
Linda Katiba. But all I'm just saying is that, do you think we're so far gone that now we have to start forming our decisions based on the acceptance that this is how we are people? We are corrupt. We like impunity. We elect thieves. You know, are we so far gone that we can't go back to what is in chapter 10 of the Constitution?
Many people like to quote Martin Luther King Jr., but I think allow me to refer to him. When during the push for the civic rights movements, which he was at the helm of, part of what he talked about was the future he desired for his children, right? And how his children will interact in that society of the future, how they will interact with other people, the kind of environment that will be there. And to a great extent, because we know his children, for instance, you can see that in many ways they are living in a society that he dreamed of. Maybe not in a perfect way, still a long way to go.
Yeah, but they did get some gains.
What am I saying? Human history is testament to growing from strength to strength, and the courage of people to stand up, not just individuals, because there's no way, you know, as much as he was speaking, he was addressing an audience that was in acclamation of what he was saying.
Yeah.
So I have hope every time we see issues being challenged. You see people standing up. For example, this is something very, very ripe. You have somebody like Nelson Amenya. Yes.
Shout out to Nelson.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I heard the name Nelson Amenya was Senator Richard Onyonka talking about him.
Referencing him.
Yes.
These documents fell in your hand, whatever way they fell. Are you the one who shared these documents with politicians?
Yes, I'm the one who shared them. Nobody knew anything about this deal, even Senator Onyonka, except Aaron Cheruiyot, who is the broker in this deal, and he was actually the one who went to India.
In a media interview.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the journey from that time, I had him referencing it.
Yeah.
We also even spoke about Adani here a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
To even having the immediate former majority leader of parliament now as a CS defending the Katrako deal. I empathize with him because he was wearing his lawyer's hat. And then a few moments later, it's dropped like hot cake.
Cancel
But
everything.
one wonders if somebody like Nelson Amenya hadn't stood up, if the workers of the airports union hadn't stood up, would we have the people who, even somebody like, we mentioned that we first had the name Nelson Amenya from Richard Onyonka. The fact that he stood up and said, you know what, kuna shida, kuna shida hapa, lazima tutatue.
Yeah.
And so that, I think, speaks to the fact that even if I, as an individual, and I don't intend to, was to lose hope and give up, I think inherently we are designed in a way that we recognize that we live in a society of people, and the choices we collectively make impact how each of us enjoy living in this society or environment. Na hakuna watu wengine, my neighbor will be a neighbor. We just have to agree. This is how we're living, and this is what we want tomorrow to look like.
So should we agree that we need less political parties and more awareness on the role of political parties?
We need more public participation.
More public participation.
And participation includes that awareness.
Yeah, that's
just
true.
even knowing, because you see, the ideal of public participation is well expressed
views
at the voting, because there's a book I love by Nobel laureate Amartya Sen.
I think
The Idea of Justice.
I think, Chaka, at this rate, we're going to start a politically connected book club, because the number of books you're just dropping.
Ishakwa.
Yeah.
And in this book, he grapples with a lot of ideas. But part of what he was asking is, instead of having somebody go to a voting booth and casting a vote, why not try and collect everyone's views? Yeah, what's the practicality of that? But it was an important question.
Yeah.
Why? Because you then come full circle, at least I did, to realizing that me casting this vote captures my views on issues.
Yeah.
And hence, if I'm voting for this person who is part of this political party with these ideas and issues that they stand for, me casting that vote is me expressing my views on these various issues. And so even knowing the issues informing who you're voting for or the party you're voting for, that awareness informing your vote is public participation.
That's true. There's something that has come ringing in my head as you were explaining that. It was something Honorable Martha Karua said during the leading up to the build-up of the 2022 election. And she was telling people, and you can imagine her saying this, and Azimio has ODM, where ODM preach 6-piece. And she was talking to a group, I don't remember, but she was talking to a group, and she said that you have to audit your leader. Stop focusing on who will be number one, the president, because it is the MCA that affects your living.
Yes.
It is the governor, the women rep that are in the close locality of you. So instead of thinking of the political party or the presidency, you need to start auditing and seeing who will work for me. And not looking at it. And it was such a controversial thing because, you can imagine you're campaigning and you want all the people who are standing with your party or coalition to get into the seat. But here we have Martha Karua saying, by the way, auditors. Kama unaona huyu hata kuserve, chagua mwingine mwenye hata kuserve. Which I actually think is something that should come boldly even leading up to 2027, seeing of what we've seen in the last 2 years of the Kenya Kwanza regime, or even collectively as the elected leaders. I believe a part of the public participation and the civic education should be, actually think we should come up with a national scorecard to score leaders based on their track record. So that by the time someone comes and says that nilikuwa MCA na sasa nataka kuwa MP, what have you done when you are MCA that makes you feel like this responsibility of now policy making should be given to you? And then now from MP, I want to be governor. What policies did you make that helped, that pushed this country forward? And then when you become governor and you decide, I'm going to run for the top seat, what exactly did you do for your county? There has to be a sort of conversation on a scorecard that helps people on the ground to understand that sawa, you can come and preach 6-piece, but we can say that apana hadutaki huyu tupatie mwingine. Even if I want this party to win, Kenya is not short of good leaders. That's what I actually think. I just think that we pick the worst because that is the option that's been given. But if we, the people, I'm saying I've just gone back to something. If we, the people, are the ones to tell these political parties, as members or even as voters, that the option you have given me or the person you have decided to nominate as MCA for this area does not espouse my aspirations for how I want to live, and I don't believe that they'll be able to implement the things they're saying, then that way we can have we can push for more accountability and transparency. And it will also, by the way, a lot of people have such good ideas for communities, but they get scared because of the mess that is there. When they hear about nomination processes and they see how people are wanachezwa, they call it now negotiated democracy that happens. They rather stand back, and then they decide, you know what, I'm going to start a foundation or a charity works, because they know. But these brains or these people are needed. They are needed in these positions, but because of how murky and
barriers to entry.
Not even even for me, I keep saying that I don't think I'll run for a political seat. But it is purely because
I disagree, but
I don't think I'll run for not a political seat, an elective seat. No, unfortunately. But I'm making this decision based on what I have seen, and I'm like, is it going to be worth the stress? Is it going to be worth the hooliganism that you see during election? Is it going to be worth it to put myself and my family at risk? Is there another way where I can create my impact? Then I find like an NGO that, by the way, there's like an NGO that's doing this. Why don't I channel and that way my peace of mind and my family is safe. But that doesn't mean that we don't need these people in these places. So we need to find a way to, between now and 2027, I'm going back to my point, is to create a scorecard. That way people can gauge, what has this person done for me? Na kama utafanya kitu, by the end home. And then this new person who's coming in and preaching, maybe they look nini and they're saying all the right things, because that's where also we are. Hiyo ndio mtego tunategwa. Someone comes and says all the right things.
What I want to add is if we are serious about political parties, and this maybe would have, we may still have and end up having the same executive, let's say in the form of a prime minister and the like. But if you have a parliamentary model, it could be one way of actually being serious about political parties, especially if this parliamentary model is where, so we've provoked the thought of just having independence and not having political parties. That will uneka that individual kwaratili, and they're not hiding behind 6-piece, for example. On this other hand is where you vote for the political party without voting for an individual. And what that means is you have a nominations list, right? So everyone votes for a political party based on the ideas that this political party has. Now, based on the number of people who vote for this political party, you then have representatives sent to parliament based on the number of votes have won. So it means that individuals, for example, who you're saying where you'd risk your family and hooliganism and the like, instead of going, you see that model you were talking about, ideas and somebody comparing ideals and ideas, instead of going directly to give people money and you're an MP, but you're promising, infrastructural development, and that's not your job really. Role, maybe unless you're talking about CDF when it was constitutional and the like. But really, your role is, representation in parliament, legislation, accountability of government and the like. So you have individuals, competent individuals, go to this political party as members. They then put themselves forward. They are voted for by party members based on their ideas and their track record and the like, to make it onto this list. Not to be voted for, to make it onto this list. So that when the party is voted for by the people, it is from this list, in the same way you have sort of nominations, but now
it is from this list
means,
that they pick from.
Means now we're actually focusing on the ideologies of the party. So people are not voting for individuals. I like this person because he's brown. Oh, this one is tall. And yes, I believe in what he's saying, but really deep down, napenda hiyo kaunda suit. Baba yangu alikuwa anavaa kama hiyo. So you're voting for these the ideology of the party and what they are saying about, okay, these are our principles of taxation, to reference what we were talking about earlier, or this is what we think about how the county government should be audited in terms of how money it's allocating for foreign trips versus recurrent expenditure versus what it's allocating for development. What this political party is saying, these are the issues that are important to me. Ama isoko venye wata prioritize. You vote for that. And then the people internally voted on by party members, once they make the cut, the party and the ideas that win the day, they then get the best of society in your assemblies, whether county or national
Is this practiced anywhere? Is that the UK model?
Not the UK model is a mix, and like what we used to have before. And there are Kenyans who've been proposing this, as a model. I did a newspaper article on it some 2 or so years ago.
We will link it below in the show notes.
But it's models of democracy. And it goes to now you see, if maybe I wanted to form a political party that would champion this idea, if we only had five parties, ati chama itaitwa chai. That's a good idea, by the way. Naenda kutrademark. So it's a models of democracy that are worth considering. People may not even be aware that these are options. People voted for this presidential model because this politician said ikatiba iko sawa.
That's food for thought. But I wonder with the independent, if we were just to go independent, how would be able to hold these people accountable? That means it would change the IBC Act on how to recall. People. Ama you recall through?
You can recall an individual.
But when it comes to voting in parliament on certain bills, they seem to go based on what the party stands.
Precisely, which is why you then have a situation where, now if you're talking about independence, where you have a party whip and they're saying that jaribu usivotie utaona, and then they vote and then they come out here on a church on a Sunday like, I was bribed with more money than I'd ever seen, and so nikaambiwa usipochukua. But you see, now if it was an individual, you can't say that because it's you as an individual. Why? If you're in a party, you hide behind the party and you say chama ilituambia. But if you're an individual, and that's now the other side, where. But the challenge is then you avoid cohesiveness, you avoid even having a common policy position. You end up possibly with a lack of a philosophy around policy making or thinking on governance, and then so you have ideas all over the place, as opposed to saying, this is our North Star. This is what we're pursuing, and these choices speak to this common plan.
Interesting. I'm just, perhaps, we need to outthink ourselves. And what has been sold to us.
Are you joining my political party?
Apana.
Wes, are you joining my political party?
I'm in a political party. Mi tayari niko kwa chama tayari. I'm in a political party, but not to run for office. It is to play my civic role in that political party. Yeah, and give my expertise where needed.
You know, you keep saying that you won't run for office. It reminds me of a quote by Shakespeare, and though in a slightly different context, it says there are those who are born great, those who become great, and there are those who have greatness thrust upon them.
You think like it will be thrusted upon me to run for office?
There are people who are leaders in this country who did not get there by their own choosing.
That's true. It was a calling.
It was a calling, or it was imposed upon them. There's somebody who's number 3 in this country, who has been in government since they were 27.
My DVD.
Yes.
My DVD. Your initial party leader.
Lakini pia alivunja hiyo chama, so it's not there. So
wait, NC has merged with UDA?
Yeah.
My chest. Hey. Anyway.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think we may have to have another conversation on political parties with actually members from political parties. So to answer our questions and help our audiences also understand what political party has what ideology, the challenges they face in educating their members on their ideology, and how intense it gets during election period. I think that would be an interesting episode. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your parting shot?
What is my parting shot? I think one of the things that has come out from this episode and from our previous discussions is that we can't run away from grappling with the ideas that form the basis of our society, form the basis of our nations, because it's out of this ideas that, I mean, for example, we take for granted that there's a thing called a country.
Yeah.
Which the nation state is a very recent phenomenon when you look at world history. We take for granted now that there's a thing called a county or a constituency. But these things have evolved. There was a time we were talking about districts and municipalities and provinces. There was a time we were talking about a protectorate or a colony. And I think the more we grapple with the question of why is a thing what it is, what is the idea behind first principles thinking, going back to the first principles, why do we have this institution, why do we have this system or model of democracy, what is it meant to achieve? Because we find these things and we take them for granted, and it again becomes about the short-term contestations, but what were these things meant to achieve to begin with?
Yeah.
What was it that was informing when you have, not to make this lengthier, during the court battles following the impeachment of the immediate former deputy president, I was very impressed and wowed by the legal arguments that were put forward by counsel Wakili Muthomithi Onkolu. And in looking to the constitutional provisions of the 2010 Constitution and what they say about impeachment, he went and looked at not just the former Constitution, but the different drafts of the Constitution to question. The purpose of this was to question what were the framers thinking throughout this process. And by then looking at what the framers were thinking, you can probably come to a point in saying, this is what we're trying to achieve. And you're not just looking at the black letter law as it is right now, what was informing it? And I think we need to come to that place where we're looking at legislation like that, we're looking at our institutions like that, we're looking at our policies like that, the context, the framework, the principles. So kazi kwetu sisi wote.
Yeah.
What's your part in short?
I think my part in short would be we need to get serious about our elections. And one way to get serious about our election is understanding the roles of the political parties and not being swayed by the moment, and try and look for the political parties that suit your ideology, because they're there. We have about 90 political parties registered. And I feel part of my part in short would be adding to that is that political parties are not just there for you to run for office. There's so much that goes on in political parties that also gives you an inside looking in of what governance looks like. So as opposed to tweeting and protesting and all these other things, another civic right is joining a political party. And it's what you were saying in terms of when we have more and more people become aware, or more and more people get involved, is when we see some level of progress. And it forces us to think and accommodate each other's divergent views and find a path forward for all of us. So yeah, my part in short would be like, if you're not in a political party, join one. If you're looking for, you can look on ORPPs, find, just socialize a bit. And the last part would be, if you are in a political party and you're just dormant, apana, look for activities in your political parties that can inform you, inform your community, so that by 2027 you're not wondering what decision should we make. The decision has already been made, and it is just the action of voting that you're waiting for.
In other words, Madam Speaker, we should all be politically connected.
Exactly.
Na hiyo ni maendeleo.
Tumefika mwisho wa podcast episode, not the whole podcast, the episode where we were unpacking political parties, and we asked the question, what really is the role of a political parties, and why should it matter beyond the election period? I hope this series has been informative to you, and if it has, tafadhali, just take a moment and drop on the comment section about the episode. Do you think we should have political parties moving forward? Are they relevant anymore, or are they just now vehicles? Do you think we should go independent? Do you think we should go the parliamentary route that Chaka shared? Give us all your views, comments fupi hapo kwa comment section. We'll be sure to engage. And last but not least, I'm going to keep saying this until you who hasn't subscribed subscribes. So kindly subscribe to our channel. We are on YouTube, we are on Spotify, we are on Apple Podcasts, I think. And we're also on all social media platforms, which is WhatsApp, Instagram, X, Facebook, and TikTok. Hi, how can I forget the clock app? So until the next time, see you guys and stay connected.
See you soon on a screen near you.